Okay. So good morning, everybody, and welcome to this webinar organized by WinterMed Project. WinterMed Project is a project funded by the Interreg Mediterranean program and gathered and make known lessons learned from other ended and ongoing projects with the aim to support sustainable tourism in the Mediterranean island. So before introducing the topic of today, I would briefly introduce the team and give you some technical information. So the team today is composed by myself, Jasmine Andreaus from Confesercenti Toscana, and my colleagues Lorena Vida from Anci Toscana and Massimiliano Gini from Confesercenti Toscana. The duration of the webinar will be around 45 minutes, 1 hour. It will be recorded and you can find it on the project website. We will download it in the coming day. And in the project website, you can also find the previous webinar we have done. So we invite you now to turn off your micro and camera and ask questions, writing them down in the chat box. So if some question arise, you can write it there, also during the expert presentation. Then we will discuss them in the Q&A session at the end of the webinar. The webinar today is dedicated to EuroVelo 8, which is a long-distance cycle route implemented by the project MedCycleTour, which is another Interreg Mediterranean project. EuroVelo 8 is framed as part of a larger cycle network, EuroVelo, and in particular, this route interests Mediterranean coastal area from Cyprus to Cádiz. So the project aim was to provide transnational solutions for sustainable tourism development offered by cycle tourism, defining the necessary actions through action plans, refer to pilot areas, and develop innovative communication solutions. So I don't want to dwell with the good practice presentation because today there are with us two partners of the project who will introduce the EuroVelo cycle route. So we have Ivana Karuza, head of EU Projects Department at Croatian National Tourist Board, and Jesús Freire, European Cyclists Federation. So I thank you both to be here with us today.
Hello to all.
So now leave the floor to Ivana Karuza.
Okay. So let me just screen share it. Just 1 second. Can you see the presentation?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Okay, so oops. Hello to everyone, and thank you for inviting me to participate in this webinar. I greet you all from Zagreb, from Croatia, on behalf of the Croatian National Tourist Board, and on behalf of all my colleagues in Croatia that worked with me on this project, MedCycleTour. And thank you, special thanks to Kristina Bršić from the Institute in Poreč for inviting Croatian National Tourist Board to be an associated partner in WinterMed project. We are very happy to be able to participate in any kind of project that is aimed to develop sustainable tourism, especially in the low season and especially related to the islands. Because as we know, Croatia has more than 1,200 islands, so the islands are quite important assets for us in tourism-wise, especially. Well, like Jasmine already told you, Croatian National Tourist Board is one of the project partners in the MedCycleTour project, which is EU project, also financed and implemented in the scope of Interreg Med program. The full name of the project, MedCycleTour, is just an acronym. So the full name of the project is Mediterranean Cycle Route for Sustainable Coastal tourism. And I think it's pretty clear what the aim, the objectives are. So through this project, we, and when I say we, I mean all project partners, or the total of 18 partners from 8 countries, participated, tried to develop and promote and encourage the responsible and sustainable tourism in the Mediterranean region. So what we also tried and still trying to do is to impact regional, national, and even transnational policies in favor of sustainable tourism, but not just the tourism, but also the traffic. Connected to that is also the encouragement and stimulation of green mobility of local communities, increase of the investments in the cycling infrastructure, and so on. So I apologize. I see the little mistake here in this slide. I apologize to everyone, and I will correct it and send to Jasmine, so you will get the proper, the good version of the presentation. So we started this project on February 2017, and we will finish it quite soon. The deadline is August 22nd of this year. So we are basically in the very last period of the project. And through this, over this more than 3 years, we did quite a lot of good and important, I think, activities, and with the quite visible and tangible results, which is of course the most important thing. So the main objective of the project was to develop and promote cycling tourism in the Mediterranean region, and we aim to do that through the establishment of the EuroVelo 8 route, which is new Mediterranean route that had to be established, and I think we all the partners did quite a good job in making the first capital steps in doing so. So a few basic and general informations about the route, because I believe my colleague from ECF, from European Cyclists Federation, Jesús, will tell you much more, because the route is there. It's not there, but they manage it under the EuroVelo brand. The Mediterranean route is a route that connects Cádiz all the way down to Cyprus. So basically, all Mediterranean countries are involved in the route. It is about 7,500 kilometers long in total. It connects 11 countries. And when it comes to Croatia, EuroVelo 8 is one of the 4 EuroVelo routes that passes through our country. When we started the project, each partner from each country had to decide the kilometers of the route that will be officially done as a cycling route. And we in Croatia, having the coast quite long, and having the importance of that coast for the tourism, we decided that our part of the route will be all along the coastal Croatia. So our part of the route is definitely the longest one, and it is in total 1,116 kilometers long. So it starts right on the border with Slovenia in Istria, and ends in Vitalina border, which is the border between Croatia and Montenegro. In the scope of the project, each partner, each country had to define the route, and we did so. So we defined it like we have the official main route, but we also wanted to make an alternative route sections, and I think those sections could be quite interesting for you for your project, because they connect the islands of several northern Adriatic islands of Croatia, such as Cresker, Krab, Pag, and then some Dalmatian islands like Ugljan, Pašman, Korčula, and the route also passes through Pelješac Peninsula. So like I said, Jesús will tell you much more in detail about the route in general, and more, I think, more about the infrastructure and infrastructure wise. So I will present you now the main results, the main results or deliverables that so far Croatian National Tourist Board as a project partner has produced, has done, and throughout the project. Definitely the first and very important result is the action plan for the development of the Croatian route from the period 2018 to 2030. And I think this document would be interesting for your project, because it is very detailed, and it offers very concrete and very concrete recommendations and strategies, and especially actions. To be more specific, 248 specific actions for the development of the whole EuroVelo 8 route in Croatia. We adopted the plan in 2018. The plan is, of course, drawn up in line with the ECS methodology and ECF criteria, and it is available in Croatian and English at the website. You can see on this slide. This is the official Croatian National Tourist Board website. So feel free to check it and download it if necessary. The other big and quite important result of the project, which was also the obligatory activity for us as a project partner, was a pilot signposting. And this was quite challenging, especially given the fact that Croatian National Tourist Board is a national tourism marketing organization, and that majority, if not all, our activities are aimed almost exclusively towards the promotion. But I think we took up the challenge, and we did it, and we did it good. So now we have around 160 signposted kilometers in Croatia, in two coastal counties, which I think is really good. It took a lot of effort, it took a lot of time to do so, but I'm quite proud about I have to say that I am quite proud about the job we did, because to signpost the route took quite a lot of get numerous proofs from the institutions and etc. So I think I'm quite proud with the work we did. So, like I said, at this moment we have around 160 kilometers of the route signposted, and I have to say that we did our share in the scope of the project, which was 115 kilometers in two counties. But then those two counties, to be more precise, Zadar County and Šibenik Knin County, so both coastal counties, expressed the will to provide the financial means so we can signpost additional kilometers in their counties. So I think I can say that we all did the capitalization activity, not even in the course of the project, which I'm also proud of. The third and maybe the most important result of our result in the project is definitely the national EuroVelo 8 route website. We did it as a separate website. You can check it and browse it at the domain www.eurovelo8.hr, and it is available in Croatian and English. And I think it's very good. It's very focused and it's very user-friendly. We wanted it to be so because it provides very detailed technical and tourist information about every route section, including the main route and alternative route sections. So for the purpose of the website, the route was divided in two parts: the northern part and the southern part of the route. And then you can find the whole route is divided in sections. So we have in total 20 sections of the main route and 8 sections of the alternative route. And each section, you can see the main sections, and then each section is presented to the user in a way that provides a short description of the route and the attractions you can visit on the route, important information, technical description, and then attractions that are linked directly to the websites of a certain attraction. So if it's a museum, then you just click the attraction and it lands on the web page of that museum. So the website is definitely made for the cyclists and for the cycling tourists, for those who want to explore Croatia along the EuroVelo 8. And the GPS traces can be downloaded. They can find all the necessary information, and especially what is more important, the technical information of the route. So I think the website is very user-friendly, which was the main and the most important intention, definitely. Since we are, like I said at the beginning, primarily the marketing organization, we opted to, in the scope, to do some quite PR and marketing activities as well in the scope of the project. So we organized the fan trip for journalists in June 2019. We had a really good response and very good feedback. We hosted journalists from France, Italy, Finland, and Slovenia, and the Croatian journalists, and they explored not the whole, because it's impossible to explore the whole route which is more than 1,000 kilometers long. But we started in Istria, in Pula, and then drove all the way down to Dubrovnik, and they cycled for around 150 kilometers of the route in Croatia. In the September of last year, my colleagues from the study department that were, as we were talking about the project and the fact that we, in the scope of the project, did the study tour, they decided to use the EuroVelo 8 as a tourist product. So they did separate EuroVelo 8 study tour, fan tour for travel agents. And the response for that study tour was even better than for ours. They had 10 agents in total from France, Italy, Norway, Sweden, and UK. And but they focused on only 3 counties. So the plan is definitely to use EuroVelo 8 as a complete tourist product more and more. And unfortunately, this year started quite hectic and quite quite unfortunate for all of us. So, but definitely the plan is to cover the whole Croatian part of the route and to organize study tours for the remaining counties and for the remaining sections of the route, as the feedback from the study tour in September was quite good. So that was also a capitalization activity that we did in the course of the project itself. At the very beginning of the project, we printed and designed EuroVelo 8 flyer. I think each partner had to do the same. So the flyer is also available on our website that I noted here on the slide, and feel free to use it if you want. So if you want, and if you're passing Lorena or colleagues from the forest, if you're in Zagreb, we can always provide some printed amount of printed copies to give you. What we also did, and it was quite time-consuming job. We provided and gathered the information of the tourist information of the all route, or the whole Croatian part of the route. That is included in the transnational EuroVelo 8 brochure. The brochure is very nice, and it was done by ECF. It had to be, Jesús, please correct me if I'm wrong, but it had to be officially presented at ITB fair in Berlin this year. But as ITB was cancelled, the brochure unfortunately didn't have the presentation it deserves. But you can find it on the EuroVelo official site and download it. I think you can download the digital version and the print version as well, but probably Jesús will tell you more about that. Since the photos, the good professional photos with cycling motives, are quite important for us in marketing and promotional terms, we decided to do a filming of to have a set of professional cycling photos from the spots and locations along the Croatian route, and we did this and we did it separately, not separately not in the scope of the project. So we employed a professional photo company to make a filming, to do shooting, and 42 attractive spots in 7 counties along the route. And finally, we did what we have to do as a national tourism board. We arranged advertising of the Croatian route in digital advertising on EuroVelo8.com from November 2019 to April 2020. So you can see the examples of the banners we designed. I have to say that although the route is Mediterranean, we decided when defining the route, we decided to detour, if I may say that, one part of the route a bit more to the continental part, more precisely to Lika region, because we wanted to include even the continental part. And Lika region, by the definition, by its administrative definition, does have a coastal part. So it is a part of the Mediterranean, but we definitely wanted to include a bit of the continental part of Croatia and Lika, especially given the fact that we have the Plitvice lakes there, and that the area itself is very attractive, especially for the cyclists. We also did, in cooperation with DCF, the print advert in the global EuroVelo map for 2020. I think it was printed in around 40,000 copies or so. And I have to say that ECF selected precisely the photo that that presents a spot from the Lika region as the photo to be the cover photo on the map. So I think Croatia is quite well promoted in the scope of the EuroVelo 8. So this is it. I hope I'm not out. I didn't ran out of time. This is just a short overview of the results. We, as a Croatian National Tourism Board, as a project partner, have done so far. We still have some 2 or 3 activities to finish up, and then the project is coming to its end. But I think there are a lot of interesting and valuable inputs we can provide you with in terms of your WinterMed project. So for any questions, for anything you might need, or any information you might need, or anything, just feel free to contact me. The email is right here. And yeah, thank you all for listening.
Thank you, Ivana.
You're welcome. Okay, I'll stop share now. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much for your presentation. It was really clear, and it was really useful, I think. Thank you for giving us a lot of information about the promotion initiatives and capitalization as well. So this was, I think, very useful also for our project and our attendees. So now I will give the floor to Jesús Freire.
Oh, hello, everyone. Good morning. I hope you can see already the presentation on the screen, right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. First of all, thank you very much for inviting us to participate at this webinar. It's great that the EuroVelo 8 Mediterranean route is the main topic of this webinar, and we have the opportunity to share with you in the frame of this project what we did on the MedCycleTour project, also financed by the Med program. Well, my name is Jesús Freire. I'm Business Development Director at the European Cyclists Federation. We are the umbrella organization for cycling organizations in Europe. So we are based in Brussels, where we have our offices and a team of around 25 experts. Here in Brussels, we mainly advocate for cycling in general as a means of transport, but also for cycling tourism. And EuroVelo is one of our main initiatives in the area of cycling tourism. Basically, the idea today, I think Ivana already made a great presentation and introduction to the project. I would like to share with you some of the best practices around the MedCycleTour project and EuroVelo 8, and how we believe this has been and is still, because it's finishing now in August, a successful transnational cooperation along the Mediterranean region. The main objective of the project is to use the EuroVelo 8 Mediterranean route as a tool in order to influence regional and national policies, so we can have a more sustainable and responsible tourism in the Med area, mainly providing transnational solutions in coastal areas across the Mediterranean Sea. And as Ivana said, we want to do this through EuroVelo. I think you can see on the right side the EuroVelo overview map. Basically, as I said, EuroVelo, the European Cycle Route Network, is an initiative coordinated by the European Cyclists Federation. 17 long-distance cycle routes that connect the entire continent, over 90,000 kilometers of long-distance cycle route, of which most of them, more than half of them, are already in place. Basically, each of the route has a theme. You can see they are long-distance cycle route. They are not aimed to be basically cycle all at once, but people do every year a section. Some of them are already very, very famous along the Danube, the Rhine. And the main of this project is also to put EuroVelo 8 Mediterranean route on the map by contributing to the development of the route. As you can imagine, for my accent, I'm Spanish, and I see the potential of the Mediterranean region. I think we can offer things that the rest of Europe cannot, and I think cycle tourism has a huge potential to deploy in the Med area. Already, Ivana gave the main figures. You can see that the route goes from Cádiz to Cyprus through I believe 10 different European countries, because it now includes also Turkey. You can see Izmir. It's also now included in the EuroVelo 8 route. The MedCycleTour project is a 2.5 million euro project over 36 months, because due to coronavirus, it has to be extended for a few months. Unfortunately, our final conference didn't take place in Cádiz, but I think the results are amazing, and I will be happy to share with you in a second the ones that I have highlighted in this presentation that I think can be most interesting for you. Well, one of the main things we did is, okay, we have a long distance cycle route over 7,000 kilometers connecting the entire Mediterranean, 10 countries. But what is the current situation of EuroVelo 8? Is this just an idea, or is this actually a reality? So the first thing we did was to train the partners in order that they can survey the route according to the European certification standard. So we have a standard for long distance cycle routes. So, and we have an app, a software. We provide the training, and the partners were able to assess the route. What we found out is that actually, regarding, for example, one of the main aspects, which is the infrastructure, we saw that actually most of the route goes through very low traffic or traffic-free or cycle path route, which is actually what we encourage. So actually the infrastructure is there. There are definitely areas that have to be improved, but there is a lot of potential. So there are a lot of side roads. You know, we have better infrastructure than 20 years ago. So we have highways. So the traditional local and national roads have less traffic, so it's perfect for cycle tourists. So we also found out that actually the conditions of the route is pretty good. So there's a high surface quality, which is something interesting. We didn't know until we didn't actually assess the route. We didn't have this information. So the partners across the route did the job, and these are some of the results. But also we didn't only assess the route, the EuroVelo 8 Mediterranean route. As part of the project, we also implemented some small scale investments. So we could actually also assess the impact of these small scale investments. I think you can see, for example, on the left, signposting pilot that was done in Catalonia, or the bike and public transport solution offered in Italy, in Mantova. And I think on the right, I don't recognize the country, but it's a counter in order to assess the number of cycle tourists that are, or cyclists that are using the route. We also had a common questionnaire for cycle tourists in order also to evaluate the economic impact of bringing cycle tourists to the Mediterranean region and have comparable data with the rest of the continent. And since we surveyed the entire route, we were able to identify in the different countries. I'm putting here some examples of what is actually the action needed in order to make EuroVelo 8 Mediterranean route a reality and deploy the potential of cycle tourism across the Mediterranean in this country. So, for example, in Spain, we did a route survey, developed regional action plans in Andalusia and Catalonia. Very interesting is that the regions not involved in the project also were interested to collaborate. So even not having EU funded, they got involved in the project in order to provide of their data and assess the route in their regions. And also they implemented pilots. Basically in Spain, 155 actions were identified that have to be, there is certain investment needed in order to develop the route, and the total value was calculated in over 45 million euros. Same was the case in France. I'm putting all these few examples of what was done in each of the different countries, but it's the same situation in France. They identified the actions and the investment needed, and also they implemented some pilots in order to give the first steps. A similar situation in Italy. They implemented 4 different types of pilots as well, and they identified over 162 actions needed in order to develop the route. I must say that Italy is one of the countries where the route is more developed. So the EuroVelo 8 is actually a reality in an important part of the route. In Croatia, well, I jumped Slovenia, but also in Croatia, as Ivana was mentioning, they also did a great job implementing a signposting pilot and also identifying along the 1,116 kilometers of route, which is a long length of the route in Croatia, and the actions that are needed in order to make the route a reality. Same was done in Cyprus, Greece, and other European Mediterranean countries. As a result, as is usually obvious, most of the investments in order to make EuroVelo 8 a reality are needed on infrastructure. But it is also important as part of our methodology. Not a route is not only the infrastructure; it's also the services along the route, it's the promotion of the route, and something very important: the organization and the governance, the collaboration at the transnational level, the collaboration within each of the countries among ministries, regions, local authorities, etc. You can see clearly that, well, we coordinate EuroVelo at the European level. So the activities that we were responsible for are international activities. So saying that in Croatia and in other countries, they developed national websites. We developed the transnational website, eurovelo8.com, connected to the national website. So the cycle tourists can go from an overview website such as ours, which is inspirational, to the details that are actually within the national and regional websites. So it's available. You can, I of course invite you to visit them. The eurovelo8.com transnational website include, you can download the brochure with all the touristic information about the route. You have news, events, maps and guides, and also bookable offer, because there are third and tour operators that are already offering bookable offers along EuroVelo 8. We also develop a promotional app, which is it's a gamification. It's an app in order that the users interact with the points of interest along the route. It's not a guidance tool. It's more like a marketing and promotional tool. And as Ivana was mentioning, we develop a lot of promotional material, but also some publications for professionals. It can be found both on eurovelo.com, which is the web for cycle tourists, and pro.eurovelo.com, which is the web for professionals of the sector. We also develop a database for best practices. So you can find also on our professional website all the best practices along the Mediterranean area, but also beyond. And we, of course, have a part of the project which is focusing on capitalization regarding policy recommendations. We are publishing a charter for sustainable and responsible cycle tourism in the Med area, something that will come in a second, the impact assessment report, and a transnational cooperation among the partners once the project has finished it. The impact assessment report is something very important. As I mentioned, some of the partners implemented pilots. One of them is counters, and also we have questionnaires for cycle tourists, so we can, using the international methodology, assess or quantify the economic impact of EuroVelo 8. We do it in the frame of a transnational cooperation. We have a monitoring strategy at European level. The latest figures, which is offered by the European study commissioned by the European Parliament, is that cycle tourism contribute with over 44 billion euros to the European economy. That's more than the cruise ship industry. Obviously, in the Mediterranean, the cruise ship industry at the moment might have a higher weight than the cycling tourism, but as you can see here, the potential is huge. Actually, it could be a perfect alternative for more sustainable, responsible tourism within the Med area. So this impact assessment report is going to be one of our latest or our last deliverables in the project. It will be ready before the end of August, assessing the impact of the route. And it's something that for us is very important, because for us EuroVelo is well, it's a project that started in the 90s as an idea of united Europe through long distance cycle route. Now it's closer to a reality. Many of the routes are already developed. We always aim to establish transnational cooperations in the long term. So we don't want the project to stop on the 22nd of August, which is the official final date. We are going to continue working with partners on a long-term management agreement, or we aim to do so, in which we also want to involve partners not originally involved in the project, in order to sustain the project results, assume responsibilities on the transnational level, and try to position EuroVelo 8 among the top long-distance cycle routes and cycle tourism products in Europe. Okay, I think I'm fine on time. Just to quickly go through this. This is going to be a bit, so you have a taste of also part of the work we do in Brussels. As you know, in Brussels, we are established as a lobby or advocacy organization. So we want more cycle tourists in Europe. And definitely investment is needed in order to achieve that all these long-distance cycle routes are a reality. And somehow we need the cooperation with you, with the regional partners, with the national partners in order to make this possible. As we assess the route, we found out that there are investment needed in route infrastructure, services, marketing, monitoring, etc., in order to bring more cycle tourists to the EuroVelo Mediterranean route. And in order to do so, definitely we need EU funding. You know that EU funds can play an important role in the development of our region, of the Mediterranean region. And that the EU funding can be used for a lot of things. It can be used, as you know, for a lot of useful things and sustainable things, less sustainable things. We believe that cycling is a perfect objective for funding of the EU. And we believe that the new programming period 2021-2027 can be a great opportunity for this. Just as an example of how this can unleash the potential, we had a previous MedAid project. It was a COSME project, only with 330,000 euros budget. Now we have the MedCycleTour project with 2.5 million euros. And only in Andalusia, this has helped to unleash over a 100 million investment linked to EuroVelo 8. So you can see the multiplier effect of the work we do together with the partners across the Mediterranean. And we do this all across Europe. There are different types of EU funds. I'm not going to enter into that, but you are familiar with them. What we want to emphasize here is that most of the money for you, or most of the funding is available at national and regional level programs. So that is where the big money for investment is allocated. And we can see also that there is big difference on the budget allocated for cycling in different countries. As you can see, Poland has a lot of references for cycling on their EU funding schemes. Also, it's the same case for Spain or France or Hungary and Bulgaria. And we have a new programming period coming now. And what makes the difference in order to include, in order that we have cycling development in the new period and new investments, is that we need in the new programming clear references to cycling. Since I joined EDCF in 2013, the money allocated for cycling in the EU investments for cycling projects in the EU budget was 0.6 billion. It was more than double in 2014-2020, and we aim to double it in 2021-2027 to reach the goal, which is 6 billion euros for cycling in the period 2028-2034. And you know, this is essential because, as you know, if we have reference to cycling in the programs, in the operational programs, we will have calls, and that will be projects in which you will be able to implement all the actions needed to make EuroVelo 8 a reality. So we actually need the collaboration with you in order to make this possible. So now that we know that you are working on your new programs, it will be an ideal situation collaborating with us to make possible to include references to cycling for transport, but also for leisure and tourism in your operating programs. I hope this was a good overview, not only of what we do on MedCycleTour, but what we also want to achieve, also with your collaboration in the future. I saw very interesting questions in the chat, so as soon as the moderators gave us the opportunity to answer the questions, I will be pleased to answer them. And thank you very much for listening. I will give you also my contact details on the chat, so you can reach me if you have further questions after the questions now. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jesús. Thank you very much, both Ivana and Jesús. They were very clear and thorough. So we have an overview and a case study, let's say, a successful case studies. So now, yes, I saw that there are many questions, so I am happy to that. Maybe we can start the question and name session. So let's check the first questions for you. Okay, so we have a question from Christina. Please, can you explain how the route is connected between Greece and Cyprus?
Yes, this is a very good question. So actually, if any of you have an overview map of EuroVelo, which is one of our main giveaways. So I hope if we meet soon, we can give you this map. Together with our EuroVelo network, we have also displayed the European railway network. It's because cycle tourists have a tendency to use public transport as part of their long-distance cycle tours. So we emphasize public transport, which means train, ferry connections as part of the EuroVelo network, and the connection between Athens and Cyprus. There is still a ferry available. It's not ideal because it's, as you know, the tendency is to use more and more the plane, but we try to emphasize a sustainable aspect. Obviously, in reality, in the practical part, most of the people use the plane to go from Athens to Cyprus, but the ferry connection is necessary. We need to have a ferry connection in order to make EuroVelo continue. So it's a requirement to have ferry connections between islands and the continent.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I think that it was really clear. You answered to the questions. I go ahead with another question from Massimiliano, my colleague. As regards the development of the tourist product cycling, do you have any advice for involving tourism service providers?
Do you want to answer that one, Ivana?
Hi, yes, I will try to answer that one because it is a tough question. I mean, this was one of the objectives of the whole project, to get all the stakeholders involved. And all the service providers are definitely one of the most important stakeholders for the route, especially when route is considered, and for us this is, well, tourist product. So we did that. I mean, we try to do that and try to involve them as much as possible through the workshops. So as we speak, the final decision makers, what the workshop for the decision makers is held, and we already did 3 or 4 of them in the last 2 weeks. But this is the last third circle of the workshops. We held the first set in 2017, 2018, and the second one through the 2018. So we are always inviting them. We're always trying to get the input from them, and the action plan that you can download and that you can check is basically not only an expert's plan, but we also included a lot of the input that we got from the stakeholders through on the workshops. So this was the idea, to get the input, to hear them, what their issues are, what they see as a problem, what they need in order to route to be functional as a tourism product, and we gathered all those inputs and implemented them in the action plan as well. So you know, it's hard to employ them if they don't see the actual benefit they will get from the route. So our job, and I'm saying this on behalf of the Croatian National Tourist Board, is to promote the route and to give them to show them that the route is not only a local or national product, it is a European product. So and due to that is even more visible and even more attractive and even more available to the much broader range of visitors and cycling tourists. So that was the idea. That was our plan to show them that the route is big European tourism asset they will benefit of. And so, okay, now you tell them. Now we ask that you to tell us your problems and what you see as a possible solution and what you need and what you know that the route needs as the experts, and we will try and implement all those inputs or majority of them in the action plan. So, and the action plan and especially this final set of workshops you're holding that is aimed to the decision makers is so we want the higher levels, the decision making levels, to consider EuroVelo 8 for their future budgets, for their future policies. Okay, so the Ministry of Tourism, we want Ministry of Tourism to include the EuroVelo 8 more in their subsidies for the cycling infrastructure. We want the Ministry of Traffic to consider EuroVelo 8 when considering new traffic investments and infrastructural investments on the roads. So, you know, this was, but like I said at the beginning, and I think Jesús will agree with me, this project is just the first step. And now we needed and we wanted it to be visible to all the stakeholders in Croatia and all other countries involved. So now it's up to them to lobby even more for the route with their local authorities, with their regional authorities, because we try to make to show them the importance and the benefits that the route can have for all tourism stakeholders on the route. Yeah.
Thank you, Ivana.
You're welcome.
Okay, this was really a tough questions. So there is another question from Christina. We spoke about the connection between Greece and Cyprus, and Jesús answered to this question. Christina asked also how can we connect Ireland with EuroVelo 8? Because not every islands have the same connection than Greece and Cyprus.
Actually, well, as I mentioned, we standardize the need to have a ferry connection between the mainland and the island, or between islands, in order for the EuroVelo route to be part of those islands. So that's a requirement. Actually, it's better than the connection Athens-Cyprus. So I think Athens-Cyprus is one of the worst ferry connections among the entire EuroVelo network of all Europe. So I think there are way better connections between smaller islands and mainlands. Something that I will highlight also, well, the current route is as you see on the map. You can check on eurovelo.com, on eurovelo8.com as well. If new islands want to be part of EuroVelo, of the EuroVelo 8, if they want to be part of the route, we coordinate the network at European level, and we have established a process for adding new routes to the EuroVelo network, or adding new sections or additions to an existing route. So there is a process every 3 years we open for example, Corsica or Sardinia, or or the Balearic Island, or Creta would like to join the EuroVelo 8. They should apply to this process that takes for 3 years in order to be part of the route. It's also a possibility, but I think depending on, I don't know what is exact, the question, if it's more about the ferry or more about actually new islands being part of the route.
I think both. I mean, however, the lessons learned helps also for the new island. So we have another question for CNTB. So WinterMed project focus on the touring strategies for Mediterranean island. You already mentioned that you included some alternative routes in Croatian islands.
Yes.
From your experience, what are the needs of local and regional authorities and destination management organization to further develop these routes?
Well, I think I must say that we deliberately included several islands in our alternative routes. Two islands are included in the main route, because the island route, the alternative island route, definitely is more pleasant due to the less traffic especially in the high season. But I think the main problems that islands have when it comes to being connected to EuroVelo 8 and in general is definitely the connection with the mainland. So in the scope of the cycling tourism, what we defined as the biggest problems is definitely the connections, not enough daily lines connecting islands with the mainland. Then the technical conditions of the ships connecting islands. For example, you have in Croatia, you have the speedboats, the catamarans, the fast boats connecting mainland with several islands, and they can, and they take the bikes, but there are not enough. There's not enough space. For example, you can, yes, we take the bicycles on the boat, but only 3 bikes can fit. That's not the solution. So this is also one of the problems we defined and in our action plan as well. The ships are not adjusted for transferring the higher number of bicycles. And then I think the price of the tickets you pay for a bike on the ship, on the boat, is also very, very high. It's sometimes triple or 4 times higher than the price you pay for a passenger. I mean, all that can be quite destimulating for a cyclist to try and go to the islands and to cycle along. I'm talking about the Croatian, the actual Croatian state, the Croatian, the Croatia. So, but I believe the problems are more or less when it comes to islands similar everywhere. And when it comes to the route itself, I saw that one of the questions was that the infrastructure does not follow the advertising. And that is correct, because also it's a question: what do we consider? What do we consider under infrastructure? Yes, the infrastructure is the state of the infrastructure is quite bad, and this is something that definitely is emphasized in the action plan as a problem, and as something that has to be dealt with as soon as possible. But this is where the regional authorities, the regional governments, and the local governments need also to take up their part of the cake and say, okay, we want cycling tourism, and okay, we will allocate this much and that much in the course of 1, 2, or 3, or I don't know how many several next years to improve the infrastructure. Because we want cycling tourists to come because we see the cycling tourism as a very, very potential tourism product that we will all benefit from. It's very broad. The network is very, very big, and it really starts with the local and finishes up here on the transnational level, because especially the EuroVelo routes, these routes are that cover all the levels. So, to get the maximum of it, you really need to. Everyone have to take up their part. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, indeed, it is quite complex. So it's
very complex. Yeah.
Okay, we finish with one other question from Lorena. I think that just checking on the chat box, but I think that there are no any questions so far. Okay, Jesús writes his contacts. So I go through with the last questions for you, which is from Lorena Vidas. Did the partners of MedCycleTour include the island destination in the action plans? If not, did you consider this throughout the project? And if yes, what were the main obstacles and you encountered in including the islands in the EuroVelo 8 med route?
Yeah.
Well,
I think I already answered the biggest part of this question. I just want to say that our national action plan maybe does not provide that many concrete actions for the islands, but definitely we did definitely the route, especially the alternative sections, are something that we will try to promote, and we do promote. So one thing that I didn't mention is also the problem with all year round connections. In Croatia, we have that problem for years now. There are a lot of ferry connections or speedboat catamaran connections throughout the high season, but then when the November comes, a majority of those connections are cut, and we all know that cycling tourism is an all-year tourism product. So I mean, and this is something we want to improve. You know, to make the companies, and especially the state company to introduce more lines. This is crucial, yeah, for the islands. All year round lines, yes.
If I totally agree. I think Ivana has highlighted the main challenges of the islands regarding all year round ferry connections, and also I will make the distinction. Well, we have Cyprus as a big island nation, part of the route. And I think something we have noticed is that some countries, islands such as Malta and Cyprus have, for example, a high level of the use of the car. So that's additional pressure on the route. However, there are other islands across the Mediterranean, smaller islands, which are ideal for cycling with low traffic roads, especially out of the traditional tourism season in the summer. But I think one of the benefits of cycle tourism is that it can extend the tourism season to the low and medium season. So actually, I think instead of looking at it as a negative thing, I would say cycling tourism can contribute to keep the ferry connections all year. So it can help also the local inhabitants. It can contribute to some of the ferries along the Danube exists because of the cycle tourists. So in Danube, the ferries, each person has a bike. Basically, there are few that they don't carry the bike on the ferry. So it can have this effect on keeping extending the tourism season, improving the life conditions of the local citizens, and also benefiting everyone, both cycle tourists and the local inhabitants. So I really believe that EuroVelo 8 and cycle tourism in general can contribute a lot in the life of islands.
Thank you. Yes, I agree with it. Okay, so we finish with our questions. So I think that we come to the end of this webinar. I thank you both for your contribution. I thank participants to attend this webinar. I will just to say that you will receive afterward by email a link for participating to an evaluation questionnaire about this webinar. So we kindly ask you to give your contribution. And I like to remind you also the next WinterMed webinar appointment, which will be next Monday, 29th June, with Better in Winter. Then we are speaking about model for sustainable tourism in coastal areas of the Mediterranean on 30th June. And another one, we will have the 2nd of July with the sustainable tourism tax. So you can register to this webinar through the WinterMed project website, as you have already done. However, I will put the website in the chat box, so you can just do it right now if you want. And I think, I don't know, I just would like to know if there are any comments from the attendees, or just no? Okay. So I hope that this webinar, it was useful for everyone. I found it very useful. I thank you again, our experts, and we will see the next time. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very
Bye.
much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.